It appears the narrative is about to shift. First of all, we heard that Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Now, one thing nobody really put in place was the nuance that gamers will buy whatever game they want to buy, and consumer behavior is paramount on the way they perceive a game. This is obvious because in one instance, consumers will say, hey, we want 60 FPS, but if a game that they like comes out at 30 FPS, they'll play the game like Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and even below 30 FPS sometimes. Not saying that 30 FPS is good or bad or whatever. I'm just saying that consumer behavior is one that removes barriers in some cases to go ahead and enjoy the games that they would love to enjoy. So in seeing this talk about Game Pass cannibalizes sales as something that is basically on a case-by-case basis, because gamers will buy the games they want to buy and they will subscribe to play the games they want to subscribe to play. And in some cases, some games don't have as much interest as some others. For instance, if you look at, say, Avowed compared to Oblivion Remastered, when everybody was talking about how Avowed did not have a lot of players in terms of its launch, it was very interesting that those same people shut up when Oblivion Remastered had a significant number of gamers playing concurrently on Steam. Well, Oblivion is beloved. Oblivion is known. Oblivion is a heavy-hitting name. So obviously, it's going to do better. So every game is actually very different in how they actually meet the player, and gamers will behave differently according to those games. So now that we've seen that this is the reality and this so-called talk about cannibalization of sales requires a little bit of nuance, it seems like they're trying to move the goalpost again by making another claim, which is Game Pass cannibalizes sales on the platform that it's on. Now, this is funny because it seems like the option to be able to subscribe and play a game is a bad thing to these people. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it seem like, oh, well, Game Pass is bad on Xbox, the console, because Game Pass exists on there. And it exposes the fact that these people have a one-minded or tunnel visioned approach in seeing Xbox's business, that it comes back and it haunts them. Because what you'll then see is apparently Game Pass on a platform influences sales as much as consumers want to engage with the game. For instance, right now, as of the time I took this screenshot that you're seeing here, Oblivion Remaster, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 were the two top-selling games on the Steam platform. Believe it or not, both games actually are available on Game Pass and Game Pass PC. A lot of folk behave and pretend like Game Pass is this one-off thing, not knowing that around the corner, in areas that many of them are not necessarily akin to or even knowledgeable about, Game Pass exists and is serving customers there. I even saw on a thread today somebody say, well, the reason why, Game Pass, these games are doing well on PC, on Steam, is because gamers on PC don't necessarily use the Xbox app, they use Steam, which is funny because if we look at Microsoft's analysis, they just claimed in their last quarter earnings or whatever, that Game Pass on PC added 30% more players. And the Game Pass app is not so far from the Steam app. In fact, the Xbox app comes natively with your Windows installation. So it's not something that you need to basically go all around the world to find. And I think this is coming from somebody, or maybe some people who play on console who are probably not necessarily used to the fact that you actually have options of multiple stores while on PC. In fact, if anybody who's a gamer on PC has played a Ubisoft game, you'd know that for the most part, you were more than likely using Uplay to make to play those games. Some people will play only on Steam, but believe you me, a lot of people will play on Uplay, judging from numbers from the Division 2, which eventually came out on Steam, but we have significant numbers of gamers actually playing that game on the Ubisoft, app and the Ubisoft platform on PC. So this is not something that needs to be, some kind of a big, huge rocket science. It just needs to be something that is absolutely taken into account every time that people are talking. In fact, another really funny thing was, as many of these people continue to say this, most of them fail to realize that Starfield, which boasted about, I think, 11 or so million players at the end of the day, was also one of the top grossing games on PC. Even with Game Pass available, we got to see a lot of PC gamers buy into the early access. I think concurrently was 280,000 plus people playing the game in early access, and then even more would have actually gone ahead to buy the game at its launch in basically its base launch date. So even with Game Pass available, what you got to see are two games, one of them a brand new IP, the other one old IP, and then another one old IP, which has enjoyed success from all sides, both the Xbox side, the Game Pass side, the PC side, the PC Game Pass side, and in some of these cases, like Expedition 33 and Oblivion Remastered, the PlayStation side. So what's going on here now is, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of those narratives are basically dwindling down, because if you go ahead and compare, say, a game like Indiana Jones or South of Midnight or Avowed, you will realize that there were already challenges with these titles. For instance, I said to Xbox fans, I didn't see a world where Indiana Jones was going to be a massive hit, because for some strange reason, I was asking myself the question, is this a popular franchise in the gaming scene? And after its cinematic had been treated the way it'd been treated, was it something that was going to resonate with fans of Indiana Jones to go buy the game? I didn't think so. And I wasn't necessarily surprised that the game as an exclusive wasn't going to be a hit. Well, behold, do you know what the reports are starting to tell us? The reports are starting to tell us that after the game having launched on PlayStation, it was now basically one of the top games in terms of sellers in that launch week that it went on PS5. Indiana Jones, according to Matt Piscatella, and this is reported by Hazardo Gaming Dragon of Dojima, and The Great Circle was a best-selling video game in the US during the week ending April 19th, following its PS5 launch, Circana retail tracking service. It was the first time the title reached #1 on the weekly charts. Of course, the Xbox Series and PC versions launched last December. So, PlayStation gamers who like the story and narrative-driven games more than we've seen even compared to some of the other platforms are much more akin to a game like this. Their affinity for a game like this is a reality. So it makes sense. And again, I said this before, and some Xbox, aficionados said to me that they didn't think it should have been launched day one on PlayStation. But I was like, guys, the exact reason it should be launched on PlayStation is because you have a likelihood of those who play Uncharted and so on and so forth, like the data continue to show. If you go back and look at some of the data sets that I've actually looked at, and I can't remember exactly, who posted this on Twitter, but it seemed like they found out that people who had played Uncharted were even some people who played the Indiana Jones game. And this has been some kind of a reality, because sometimes your audiences are in some really interesting places and you may be shocked where you find them. So when you look at a game like Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, you realize that there seems to be some kind of an affinity, and it's not all the time, for RPG games on PC and in some cases Xbox. And if the RPG maybe is in a sense, niche RPG, it may not necessarily hit a big number overall. Plus, you got to look at some of the social issues that more than likely hit that Avowed game. Remember, there was one of the artists that went out there and started to talk crap about Elon Musk. Some of you probably thought that that would not affect the game, but it actually did. Because after that guy came out and talked nonsense, you can understand and realize that all of a sudden he got quiet. I can guarantee you got an email from HR saying, shut up. And so he didn't say anything. But there are gamers, as much as you may not want to believe it, who may be sensitive to creators that come out and openly vibrate about their own personal or political stances on things. And for them, they make their purchasing decisions based on stuff like that. Believe you me, you can ask Dragon Age the Veilguard. You can ask a lot of these other games where people look at them and say, well, we're not going to engage in this because these games do not follow, or the developers have come out and stated openly things that are against our personal values. Would have preferred if they shut up. But again, some creatives and some of the artists, they feel the need to mention these things. But if you notice, many of them are getting more and more quiet. You're no longer hearing anything about that. You know why? Because the gaming industry is very competitive and very saturated right now. Nobody can risk a PR nightmare, basically shredding the sales of their games. And the ones that have gone ahead to try it out hadn't really worked for them. And so right now, you'll realize that there are many factors that affect the video game. If a game is good, gamers that want to buy it will buy it. If a game is good, gamers that want to play it will play it. If a game is interesting to gamers, they may buy it. Or if they have a subscription service that would help them basically try out the game with little commitment up front, they'll go ahead and engage in it. This is just common sense. Why are people trying to make it seem like somewhere, somehow, Xbox Game Pass is this bad thing overall? And you will continue to see many of these people double down. But what's going to happen is, as they continue to talk, they're going to continue to back themselves into a corner. And it's good. Let them talk. And we'll see how it all plays out for them. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.